I am here for today's journal video, and I am switching gears. I think it was probably obvious to you in the last video that I was not likely to work on those little vases again right away. And I hope that doesn't bother you, because that's kind of how I always work. Oh, let me see that this light was on. There we go. It's a little bit better now. I like to flip from thing to thing to thing, and I have a lot of fun looking at stuff I've worked on and picking it up and finding new ways to do it. This is a handmade notebook or journal, a little art journal that I made myself. This is a good example of it looked better in my mind than it does in person. I love old dictionary pages, so I covered some cardboard with those. And then I have these little photo corners, and I put those on either side of the cover so that you can take a piece of paper out and work. And so the different, the ones on the front are differently spaced than the ones on the inside. Oop, and this one is not working well. Yeah, this was better in theory than in practice. At the time I was trying to think about taking a journal around with me for potentially some plein air work, and I thought I would take some of this loose watercolor paper I had and make magic happen and use one of these little prong thingies. And honestly, it's not my favorite journal application. I am tempted to remove the photo corners, especially since, there we go, that one's coming off anyway. Decorate the cover a little. Add maybe some additional prongs on the inside so that I can have one side for work that, pages that are blank and pages that are no longer blank. I hesitate to use the word finished. But I think I'm going to do two different things from here today. So the first thing I want to do is pull out a fresh piece of paper, because I want to play around with a little bit of watercolor fresh. But I also want to work on this piece because when I opened up the journal, I saw it and went, ooh, I want to work on that. So initially I got this out just to work on a fresh piece of paper, and I forgot that there was anything inside already. And then once I saw that, I had some ideas. So I'm going to start with the watercolor, and then if there's time, I'll work on this, or maybe I'll make that into a separate video because I'm definitely feeling it. I have been watching some of Denise Love's watercolor videos. She has a bunch of really great videos on YouTube and does a lot of really fun things with abstract watercolors. And I am in the mood to play around. So I'm going to get out some of my favorites. And there was one in particular that she did the other day that I liked, where she just worked with a single granulating watercolor. And in that case, it's a super granulating watercolor. Cat hair. So I have quite a few granulating watercolors, and ultimately granulating watercolors, when you play with them and you lay down even a nice pretty even wash, as the watercolor moves and spreads, the pigment starts to sort of separate out. And sometimes, in a lot of cases, that might just mean that you get all the same color pigment, but that it concentrates in certain areas. As the more super granulating generally means that your color is going to separate into multiple colors or multiple pigments, which can be a lot of fun to play with. And Gansai Tambi has 2 sets now of this type of super granulating color. I play with a bunch of different ones. I also have some from Kasakube that I really love, and some Schminky. The Schminky are super lovely and super expensive. This is a good example. You can see each of these is a single color, but like particularly this Tundra Violet is sort of a brown, and then there's even a little bit of pink, and then this like blue violet in the center. This one here, the Volcano Brown, is brown, and it's got a sort of separate pink. And I find that if I use this type of watercolor in a larger area, the separations become even more pronounced. But if you're really interested in this, in terms of price point and accessibility, I find that the Gansai Tambi are particularly nice. There's 2 sets. This is the first set. I mean, you can see I moved them into a palette of mine. And we're looking at, these are the Aurora colors. So we have orange, which is a sort of a green that separates out into little orangey patches. Red, which is sort of a purpley red almost, that separates out into kind of a greenish turquoise and even a little bit of lighter pink. The pink here, which I find to be more of a purple, that separates into a little bit more of like a teal. The violet, very, very violet, definitely on that one. And there's sort of a pinkiness in there and a little bit of a blue. And then this blue that separates out with a little bit of orange inside it. And then these are the newest colors. Let's see, this Cosmic Red, you can see here, it's this really lovely red color with orange and yellow kind of in it. Olive is this one here. It's pretty neat. It's got like basically green and purple. Cosmic Green is sort of the least striking in terms of color separation. It's sort of separates into different shades of green. It's still really pretty. And then the blue here is sort of the opposite of the Aurora blue, where it's more orange into blue instead of blue into orange. And the same here with the Cosmic Violet. It's kind of a flip of the Aurora Violet. And so I think I want to pick one of these to work with and do just some abstract shapes inspired by Denise's recent video, which I will link below. And then I didn't even finish her video. I started watching it and I wanted to immediately play. So I've seen that she goes into some stencil work, so I'll probably do the same. And then I think I'm just going to figure out what kind of mark making calls to me and go with that. So it's one of the things that's lovely about art, is that it's really easy to see something somebody has done and get some inspiration from it while not doing the exact same thing, and just kind of taking a spark of something that interests you and then seeing where it leads. So let me get a couple of things out of the way. What color do I want today? I'm feeling this Cosmic Red. Part of me wants to go for the olive, but I think that's just because for some reason I didn't want to go with red, which was what was calling me. I don't know. You ever do that where you go to make something and whatever your first idea was, you decide you shouldn't do? I feel like that's common when you feel like you've been doing a lot of the same thing. But that's not why. I think the main reason that I maybe hesitated is because I feel like this red is just so compelling that part of me is like, but everyone's going to want to do the red all the time. And I'm also not usually a red person. But I really love this color. It's so interesting because honestly, I didn't really love the initial set of Aurora colors right away. I almost kind of didn't know what to do with them. I was used to working with my Kasakube watercolors. Let me grab those out if I can find them quickly. While I'm letting the watercolor sort of wake up there. Just put a little water in. Yes. So these are a little bit more subtle and tend to be a little bit more expected in terms of how the colors separate. So like Mandarin Carnelian and Fairy Conch Pearl are two of my absolute favorites from this set. And both of them just sort of take the color. It's almost like you mixed this color and then for whatever reason, the pigments you use to mix it start separating from each other just a little bit. And so this orange that looks pretty singularly orange, when you put that wash down, it separates and you get yellower areas and deeper reddish orange areas. And so I think that I expected more of that behavior. Or even some of the Schminky colors. I have some of their Shire Green in that palette, and it's very much the same sort of thing. And so to suddenly end up with something that lays down kind of brown, like, well, you know what, now that I'm talking about it, I want to show you what that looks like. I can always get more paper out. So I'll go ahead and start with the red because it's already been waking up. And then I'll just pull another piece of paper and show you what it looks like with some of these other colors. I can't decide yet if I want to do the blue, violet over here, or, oh, I meant to put water in the blue, and I put water in the violet. I'm just going to put water in all of them. I can swatch them out. So we'll let those wake up. I'll do what I wanted to do with my reds here, and then we can always come back. So I don't have a big square piece of paper like Denise is using, and she sort of did a grid of beautiful blobs, and she used the back of her paintbrush to sort of scratch some lines through. I like to do that, but I usually use like a bamboo skewer or a chopstick or something. And so I'm just gonna lay some water down because I particularly find with the granulating colors like these, that working with a lot of water so that they have the opportunity to move around and just behave how they want to behave is one of the things that makes them really special. And you can see now, I think, that I've started to wake it up. If you look closely, there's sort of this like yellow sheen within the red. Whoop, I don't want to waste that. I don't see anything easily available to pick it up with. I'm just gonna accept the fact that it's splattered and blot it with a napkin. I take all of the napkins I get anytime we order fast food or takeout or coffee or anything, and they always give me more napkins than anyone needs. And I just take them all into my art room and use them to blot things up. And so I'm just, since we have this water on the paper, I have the joy of being able to just plop color in there however I want to. So I can make a paint stroke if I want. I can also just put the color down and let it move through the water. And for whatever reason, I am suddenly really drawn to making these little lines. And you can already see some of that yellow coming out into this first blob, and even a little bit in the second blob here. And I really don't want to play with it too much. I don't want to manipulate it for too long. I find that the more that I get in there and do stuff, and the longer I try and interact, the less of that wonderful separation I tend to get. So I really just want to, that's why I laid the water down first, kind of want to get in and get out and then let it be. So I'm going to set that aside, grab myself a skewer. Got a lot of skewers and I use them over and over and over again, and I watched her do this, and I do love to play like this. So that's, I think, a big part of what called to me between the granulating colors and scratching with the, well, in her case, paintbrush, but making these wonderful scratchy lines that move across the whole piece. I just really felt drawn to that. And I mean, how can you not? Look at, it's just so yummy. And I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then while it dries, we'll do something else on another sheet, and I can show you these other colors because, hey, why not? I don't know that you can see it. I am using up watercolor paper that I got in a like multi-pack at some point, and it's like glittery sparkly. I'm not sure. Maybe when I hold that up, it gets, you can kind of see it in the shot. It's not really something that I would choose to work with all that often, although I will say I have been, I had some scraps of this that I ended up using to make junk journal ephemera, and I really like the way that turned out. So I'm actually gonna remove some of these and set them aside to do more junk journal ephemera because they made my day. So I'll put those back in. So this journal just got a lot lighter. Yeah, I did a bunch of like Ranger Tim Holtz distress inks and oxides, and just really let loose with them, and did a bunch of splatters and all kinds of stuff, and then stamped on top of that to create ephemera, and I really like the way it's turned out, so I'm going to play around with more of that. And as I continue through this series, if there's stuff that I talk about doing that maybe you're not seeing on camera that you're interested in, please always let me know in the comments. I can adjust based on what people are interested in seeing. I spend as many waking hours a day as possible making. Usually art, sometimes I sew or knit or weave, but making. So if there's something you want to see and it's not showing it up, not coming on camera, something I just talk about that you think that would be really interesting to see, let me know, and I can focus on doing a session with those other things. So this is going to be interesting because even though I'm using rather dirty water to paint these circles on, they are hard to see. And so I'm kind of trying not to run into each other, because what I want to do is pull out that other palette, and we can just put them all down at once. There we go. I got it. Got it in one. So we've got both palettes out. I'm going to grab clean water and put those in the palettes to wake them up. Sometimes I spritz with a spray bottle, but oftentimes if I'm using really specific colors and I know exactly what I'm using, I like to use a little dropper or pipette to put them down. And I'm going to use colors other than the red because we just saw the red. And so, right, you look at that, it's a brown. And I'm not knocking brown. I love shades of brown. They have their place. But it's not something that I would immediately gravitate towards. I wouldn't be like, oh, brown. Whoops, that one just spread into another blob. That's fine. We're gonna play. Normally I like to do that on some sort of runoff sheet and not on my napkin, because then a lot of times I will use the extra paint that I blot off. I try not to just dip a paint or a brush that's loaded with paint directly in the dirty paint water. That's how you get paint water that gets really dirty really fast. I like to offload the pigment as much as possible onto another sheet, and then finish cleaning out my brush. These water dots are already drying because this is not spreading very much. So this is that green I told you about that's not super, it's not going to change a whole lot. It's basically just going to separate into shades of green. It is still very lovely. But here we go. I'm just going to offload a bunch of that onto the surface. It is behaving oddly. It's kind of, I don't know. We'll see what it does. It's not acting like watercolor paper is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm re-wetting because I want these water blobs to dance as much as possible. Okay, cosmic blue. Yeah, look at that. Just, and since it's drying fairly quickly tonight, I'm able to even let it touch that blob, and it's not really color mixing, which I enjoy. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm enjoying myself, so I'm doing it. So right, we have a nondescript brown over here, and you may notice it's starting to separate. It's going to continue to separate as it dries, as will all of these. And then we've got what? Let's do, so we did the blue, the green, the olive, and this violet. And I will be honest with you, the violet is one of the ones that tends to look extra pretty when it first lays down and it continues. It's a very, if you like happy harmonious colors and whoop, those two mixed, that's okay. I really like what's happening, so I am not mad about it. I will just have to give in. So this is now the official purple blob, and those two are besties who are mixing. That's okay. I'm gonna put those there, and then my brush is a little thirsty because I got some of that water and pigment off. So now I'm gonna come over here, and I picked up some of that puddle that was there, and now I'm gonna kind of play with it a little bit. I was able to offload it because it is really pooling. And I am not able to offload nearly as much color as I'd like, so my paint water is getting really, really dirty, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. It's paint water. All right, and I only have one circle blob left over here, so I'm gonna pick one of these. And I find you probably can't tell right now, I have surprised myself a lot. This Aurora Blue was one of the colors I was least sure about and comfortable with when I first started experimenting with these in the first set that they released, and it's the one I've used the most of. So clearly I like it after all. But I'm going to grab this green because that's another one that I was kind of not really sure about when I first started playing. You can see it's like this brown, gray, green color, and not maybe something that you would necessarily expect to love. And I'm gonna let some of these things interact a bit more because I'm having fun. And that's what this is about. One of my other art cats is in here with me, so I'm not sure that she'll come on camera, but my little calico Peach is hanging out. We brought Sassy, the art cat you usually see. We brought her home in December of last year. She was a stray that had been in the neighborhood for quite some time. And she eventually, oh, why am I putting that skewer back? I wanted to play with it. She eventually started reliably coming to our neck of the woods so that I was able to put out food for her and feed her. And over time, she decided to trust me, and I got her in the house. And we made sure she wasn't chipped or anything. She definitely was not. And like I said, she'd been a stray in the area for quite some time. So I was pretty familiar with her. I didn't think she belonged to anybody, but you know, that we checked in every way we could. And then I initially thought I would foster her and find her a home, but we fell in love with her. Unfortunately, our other cats did not. And Peach in particular and Sassy have not been the best of friends. We've been working on it for almost a year, because it's been almost a year. And we did really slow introductions, partly because Sassy was really unsure what to make of the other cats, and I don't think she felt comfortable trying to trust them. And partly because we had another kitty, Soda, who was an old man with a chronic illness, and he had been starting to have some difficulty, and so we didn't want to add to his stress or any of the stress in the house, really, with that going on. And sadly, he did pass away in March. So over time, Sassy has gotten semi-comfortable with our orange cat, Fizz, the remaining boy cat. But Peach has not liked her, and they've been working on their relationship, and I think it's starting to finally improve. But right now, Peach is in here next to my art desk, and Sassy is hiding, which is her preferred thing to do. She's not so much scared as just avoiding confrontation, if you will. Anyhow, let's talk, because we've got some action. So here we have that cosmic olive, and you can see how it's separated from that sort of uniform brown into a sort of reddish purpley color and a like gold green. And it's still somewhat brownish, but it's just really interesting. This green, the cosmic green, again, is mostly just separated into like shades of green or green and blue. And then we have the cosmic blue here. And as it dries, it'll be a little bit easier to lift up and show you. Let me see if I can just, because it's going to continue to get more pronounced as it dries more. But there's orange that's popping through that blue. And then we have, of course, the cosmic violet, which is lovely, lovely purple and teal situation. And then this Aurora, Aurora green, orange, which has all of this like greeny color and these little orange dots. And then wonderfully, because I did all of this pretty quickly, and some of the colors touched, we have them bleeding into each other, which is creating even more interesting effects. So this blue is mixing, no, Peach, don't eat the pastels. That would be bad. The blue is mixing with the cosmic olive, and we're getting this lovely green that I would never have predicted, and it's so nice. And then same over here, the like cosmic green blended with the cosmic olive, and you know, what on earth are some of these tones? Or did I may have carried that from there. Regardless, really cool stuff. But as I mentioned when we started talking about this, right, and I was telling you about Denise Love's video, just playing with a single super granulated color ends up creating a very tonal piece. And this is still not quite dry. So before I would do anything else to it, they need to dry, both of these. And then I played with them over here on the cover because I've already taken those photo corners away, so I figure I might as well start doing stuff to it. And so I've offloaded a bunch of these colors onto this without really thinking, and they're starting to mingle and separate and play in some interesting ways too. So that's going to be fun. I'll probably end up with some collage paper on there and goodness knows what else before it's all said and done. Let's back that up a little bit. And since I have to wait for some things to dry, and since initially when I opened this, I saw this piece and I thought, ooh, I want to do stuff. That's why I actually have out the pastels I mentioned that Peach was trying to get out. I think more than anything, she thought they might be fun toys and she was trying to pull them out with her mouth. But we put a stop to that really quickly because that is not something I want her to do. So I mentioned this previously, but I got really lucky and found this collection with the exception of the pastels that are in here. The rest are all Jack Richeson hand-rolled, and I got them as a collection off of eBay. And so I got a really nice price for them, and that just gave me the opportunity to build a collection quickly at a fraction of the cost of buying them new. And particularly, I very fully believe there are a lot of people who will say, if you want to play with a new art material, buy a couple of colors in, a good quality material, buy the colors you'll use or that you like most, rather than buying a set. And I think that's fantastic advice if you're not me. I need and want all the colors, and I frequently move between super vibrant colors, and I've been like mega into pastels all of a sudden lately, and I particularly in acrylics been buying and working a lot with pastel colors, which I would have previously told you I never touch. And then earth tones, because I like doing abstract landscapes, which is what I kind of want to do with this one here, in fact. And so if I went ahead when I was buying pastels, bought them new, and just bought the colors I was drawn to, I would have ended with a whole bunch of really vibrant colors, like these vibrant oranges and teals and turquoises and bright pink. And then when I wanted to do something like this moody piece here, I would not have the colors I want for that. And so I tend to want a really well-rounded library of colors to work with. So buying people's used collections when I can is often really beneficial for me. I've really only been on this art journey for a little over a year. In terms of making it a major focus for me, and I've been getting into mixed media, which means I want to try all the supplies, right? So it makes it extra easy. And I have yes, baby wipes. I buy the ones that are 99% water, and I use them until I can't use them anymore, I promise. But they are just one of the most effective and useful art tools ever. Anyway, I like to play with all the things, and so I do. I want to smudge this, and I want to smudge it with my finger. I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood to play with my stuff and really be hands-on. So I'm going to go all the way there with this. Okay. Come on, yes. This is nice. I'm trying to smudge it and work it in, but I don't want to lose the initial lines that I laid down. So that's nice. And let's see, I kind of want to, let's use this yellow. Oh, hazard. It happens. Let's see. Now, I could freak out that I messed up this piece, or I could accept that that happens and see if there's other things I want to do to it. I don't know where the skewer I had went. Probably under something. Usually the smaller, pointier ones do a little bit more for me. Ooh, this is nice. It's dry. It's mostly dry here, but not fully. So the skewer is actually digging in to the paint a little. And so I'm getting a little bit of white line there that I wouldn't have necessarily predicted, and I like that. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Anyhow, there we go. Whoops. Let's see if I can move this more out of the way. On top of the watercolor palette, probably not the smartest place, but it is the place I have chosen. This yellow is either absolutely a great choice or terrible, and I have not decided yet which. Leaning towards terrible. And that is not a Jack Richeson Handrolled. I can't remember. I got that in yet another sampler. I told you I like samplers. Used art supplies and samplers. Because again, I was trying out different, I knew I wanted to invest in some soft pastels. Really nice quality soft pastels that would have a lot of pigment payoff. There are so many brands and so many people have strong opinions about their favorite, and I was really struggling. And you know, did I want super soft or very soft or semi-soft, or I like it a little more now that it's really thoroughly blended. But I think I'm actually going to wipe some of that off with a baby wipe. And so I found Dakota Pastels store online that sells samplers. And so it's like several sticks, one in each brand, so that you can try them out and see which ones you like. And there were ones I thought I'd love that I didn't, and ones I didn't know I would love that I do. And so that was a really good way for me to test things out. And I had really liked the Jack Richesons, and I also really liked the Diana Townsend. And I would have gotten those, but then I got this awesome gently used set of Jack Richeson, and I'm very glad I did. So there, I put that yellow on and smudged it up, and I've wiped a lot of it away, but there's still sort of a ghost of it in the background, which I do like. So yeah, that pastel was from the set and is one of the ones I didn't choose or didn't love as much as others, but they're still good. It's a good pastel. I'm not knocking it. It's just some of them felt nicer in the hand to me. Others, you know, some I liked the way the color laid down more, and you know, Some felt crumblier than others. It's just a really good opportunity to play. And now I am using from Sketchbox some woodless pastel pencils as a way to sort of get in there a little bit with a different color. It's still in the yellow family. This one's mustard. It's really nice. I'm just trying to continue to create that separation between what I think of as the like earth and sky, I suppose. So I'm just going to keep playing. Ooh. And I've got a couple of pastel pencils. I was going to use another pastel pencil. I'm actually going to switch back. I love this blue. This was my sample Jack Richeson, and it's really pretty. And I will say, I tried to be as color agnostic as possible, but I can't promise that that sampler, when I got it, that some of the color could have influenced my decision, because it came in a range of light colors, and I am very, very easily swayed by color. But I don't think that was the whole story. It just wouldn't surprise me if there's a little bit of that at play in my choices, because I do really love that blue. It'd be hard to dislike it. I want to put a little bit of darker blue down at the base of the sky. Sort of imagine the sun and the light further up, getting progressively lighter. Alright, I like that. And I kind of want to seal it in this way, because as I start to seal it either with more gesso or with any sort of medium, it's going to smudge, but it's also going to preserve a fair amount of that line. So I'm just going to I'm almost done with this matte medium that I don't love. So I'm just going to plop some more down and grab a brush. I avoid brushes a lot of times when I use medium, matte medium, gloss medium, gesso, just because they're hard on brushes, and I don't like to be hard on my brushes when I don't have to be. And I will often use my paint shapers, my silicone paint shapers, for something like this, but I don't want to today. So I'm going to I've got a bunch of ratty brushes. I'm going to take one of my ratty brushes, and I'm going to start in the light area up here, right? Lightest part to darkest part, so that as I smudge color and pick up color into this matte medium, I'd rather it bring the lighter color down into the darker colors than the other way around, because this top area is what I want to be my lightest space. So if that's going to be the case, I don't want to be bringing that dark brown up here, and believe me, it's gonna come and be a big part of the party once I get in it. Even this dark blue, or dark, I shouldn't say dark, the darker blue shade I can see is moving a lot, and is fairly pronounced. But you still see those lines, and I saw somebody do this a few months ago, play with their materials like that, and sort of almost roll them as they make lines. It creates these sort of undulating lines that are sometimes a bit sporadic or chaotic, but are also really fluid all at once. It's a very interesting line quality that they produce, and I honestly have been pretty obsessed with it. I have way too much medium, which is why I don't like that medium. So I'm a little bit worried I'm going to end up I'm going to waste it. I don't want to do that. So I may have to try and think of something else, or pull out another piece of journal or something, so that I can not waste this extra matte medium. Okay. So yeah, I love the line quality that I get when I hold and move my materials in that way, and I do it a lot now, and maybe I overdo it, but I frankly don't care because I really like the way it looks. I like the result. So I like this, like we're now starting to get this separation. I don't know what these mounds are supposed to be. Maybe I'll play with some more collage. Actually, do we have, please stand by. Yep. So we had these collage papers out just the other day. I know I have some cool other pieces that we can bring in here. So I've got some medium down. It's not going to be super translucent because of a number of reasons. We're not using gloss medium, so we're going to lose some translucency from that. And the paint is not as transparent, nor is the application of said paint. But that's okay. It's still cool. I almost got these like little hillsides we're working in now, so that's fun. I'm enjoying what they're doing. So let's see. And now I'm kind of able to work the gray mounded shapes in a little more. And that's kind of, I was thinking, with this, I want to cover, so I'm actually gonna, where do I want to offload that? Offload you right there. I should probably be playing with the palette, but I am not, and it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna put that there over top of that upper mound. This is a much more transparent piece of paper. So there's a lot of white space or unpainted space in this. So even though I'm not going to get a high degree of transparency, it's still going to melt in and I think help unify some of this. So there we go. That's going to be really interesting to see how it dries. Right. I feel like this is just inherently a bit more organic looking now with the additional pieces of collage. Having that one in two areas just felt very incomplete and sort of stark and too noticeable. So we've got that there. And I still have a little bit of medium. So I'm gonna slap one of these down on my, here, let me move you out of the way, on my journal cover here, because why not? So I'm gonna put this here, put it down, and I'm gonna spray it down, and I got some still on my brush, so I'm just gonna do my best to get that nicely covered. I told you I was probably going to want to put collage on this cover, and so I have. All right. So I have two different sets of paint water. I have watercolor paint water, which is a jar of clean water and a jar of dirty water that I will cycle through, and I don't mind, you know, basic like drain, putting some of that in the drain. I do not put acrylic down my drain as much as possible. I mean, obviously, like I wash it off my hands and stuff like that, but I avoid it as much as I possibly can. So I have a whole separate container that I put my acrylic mediums that I rinse those brushes and stuff off into, which is what I'm doing off camera here now. And yeah, this one's going to need additional wash. I'm just going to put it there. I don't want it to dry with the medium on it, so I will wash that after we are done here. This is still drying, but it's so pretty. Let's take a look at this other one we've got here. Same, although this one is much more dry than the red. And I really enjoy what that is doing. It's just, and honestly, I enjoy the way it looks with the glitter more than I would have ever expected to. I'm still not sure I'm necessarily going to go out and get more. I think that's Paul Rubens watercolor paper. It's good watercolor paper. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to run out and buy more, but I don't know, maybe I will, because I'm starting to enjoy it the more that I'm actually using it. And then this piece needs more layers before it's done, and it is obviously also still drying, but I'm really happy with where it went. So I think we're going to stop here for today. And then when you join me next, we very well think we'll probably continue to play with the watercolor pieces that I was inspired to do in the first place, and maybe also this this little landscape. Who's to say? You'll just have to tune in and find out. If you enjoyed this, and I certainly did, but hopefully you did too, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you hit the little bell and select all, then you'll get notified every time I release a new video, which I am trying to do daily. So hopefully I will see you tomorrow.